Hello, and welcome to Horrific Tales. In this show we celebrate the creation of independent authors and aspiring writers. Please like and subscribe and share these episodes so we can help our talented friends get as much exposure as possible. We would also appreciate it if you can support our artists by following them on their individual platforms and by purchasing their works. Details on how to do this are in the episode description. In this horrific tale, we bear witness to the lengths a mother will go so that she can protect her child. Join us now as we present Prisoner of Fear by Chad Miller. I often pray there is no God. Without a spiritual element in this world, when I die, I will have no conscience or any judgment against me. In time, the history of my name will fall into the void and be forgotten. All of my past sins will be swallowed by the overwhelming multitude of sin and degradation of the present. If there is a God, the eventuality of my destination to hell is a certainty. My sins will be the noose around my neck, and I will deserve many punishments served upon me. In the eyes of God, I would have failed the test. God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. I can never triumph like Abraham. Cordelia'S condition has stripped me down to my most basic self, my most maternal. I would protect Cordelia with my last breath and throw everyone into the jaws of danger in order to ensure her survival. This may deem me to be morally corrupt. I am aware of my transgressions. I understand the devastation I have caused other people and their families. But I own a clean conscience. Everyone will fall from my sword. It is my duty as a mother. God be damned. Charlie will be here soon. He was an easy target, even though he fled halfway across the world. I knew he was in love with Cordelia. Once he was informed that she was gravely ill, his only choice was to immediately come to her aid. Cordelia needs one last meal before we depart to New Hampshire. It is fitting that Charlie's demise will be bestowed from the gritting teeth of his beloved. I was deliriously happy when Charlie first ventured off into his new profession. I thought it would free Cordelia to pursue more deserving suitors, but he put some evil spell on her. Since his absence, Cordelia has gone through a rapid descent, both physically and mentally. I blame Charlie for this. His death will be well deserved. He will not die in vain. Charlie will serve a purpose in his destruction. He will provide Cordelia with nourishment. Charlie's departure from this earth will not cause me any sadness or grief. I have never liked him, not even when he was a child. Cordelia sensed his weakness. Cordelia used to tease him and bring him to the brink of tears, and when she was finished toying with Charlie, she always called out, "Poor Charlie," always so frightened. Almost every time Charlie visited our house, Cordelia would say that statement. Before Charlie departed on his ridiculous adventure, with tears in her eyes, Cordelia uttered those final words. "I am so grateful to her. Without her help, I would be lost. It's worse during the day than at night." Sure, there were countless times where I would find myself awake, horrified by my thoughts and memories. Images of what Cordelia has become, what she is capable of projected upon my closed eyelids. My heart races and there is no escape. Sleep will not provide me with a few hours of peace, as it is fleeting. But still, the waking hours are ghastlier. It is hard to explain. When you hear a ghost story, it is creepy when there is lack of light. Your mind may play tricks. You may invent something in your thoughts that is not really there. A shadow may be exaggerated, a whisper misinterpreted. When the senses are dulled, it is scary to think of what might be. What is truly a fright to me is when I see that ghost with the sun's full light. The nightmare is in full view. It's not in my head, but it is a reality right in my daughter's bedroom. I can see her yellowing superfluous skin with spider veins of red and blue pulsing towards the surface. What once was a sweet and gentle voice is replaced by a low, grumbling growl. When she isn't contorted in an inhuman spasm, her restraints are necessary as she flails violently in order to be freed, so that she can devour me. I will take the unseen and unknown. The creatures hiding in the darkness will be welcome fantasy. Let me leave the nightmare of my reality behind. He looked different. It has only been a few short years since I've seen him, but he looks older, more worn. His weathered appearance is not due to his current travel fatigue, but from his few years abroad. It is due to exhaustion, weariness and stress. Charlie's eyes are the same, grey conjuring of a peaceful cloud. Before wanting to visit with Cordelia, he wanted to gather as much information about her condition as possible. Even though his heart ached to see her once again, his primary motivation was her health. It would be easy to be swayed seeing Charlie now. I could simply fall into the trap of reminiscence. Seeing the utter concern in his eyes might guilt me into shielding him from the harm that Cordelia could do to him. But I too have only Cordelia's health in mind. So I answered his questions, played the part of a grieving mother. He wrote everything down meticulously in a notepad. If my moral compass pointed more ways than one direction, then I may have been touched by a sincere desire to protect her from whatever illness that I had invented. Being satisfied with all the data he had collected, and he's prepared to visit with Cordelia. With most of her prey, I invited him into her bedroom, closed then locked her door, and waited for a natural procedure to occur. I would normally try to occupy myself with a loud activity, or choose a location in the house that was far away from her bedroom. But sometimes I could still hear the screams. With Charlie, I decided to stay and watch. I don't know what motivated me. Was it some sick sense of revenge? Did my morbid curiosity overtake me? Or was I trying to understand Cordelia, to grow closer to her as I became more intimate with the process? Charlie slowly approached the bed, and he gasped when he caught sight of her. Cordelia's knees were planted firmly in the middle of the bed, her head dipped to the left underneath her arm. Cordelia's right arm was held straight across, as if she was saluting. Naturally, I removed Cordelia's restraints prior to Charlie's visit, so that she'd be able to conduct her affair freely. I don't think Charlie was only shocked by her stagnant position. The last time Charlie had seen Cordelia, she was bristling with beauty, and now she was reduced to a pile of skin and bones with a hidden ferocity. When he noticed the dire situation, he fled her bed and knelt down onto the floor. "Cordelia," he wept, "I should never have left you. Cowardice is my only excuse. I love you, Cordelia. You're the only love of my life. I was so afraid that I was beneath your class and that you could never reciprocate my feelings. Leaving your side was the greatest mistake of my life, and now you're here to suffer from my fallibilities. I should have been here to protect you, to shield you from whatever it is you're suffering from. I don't know if I can help you, to find a diagnosis, to figure out a cure, but with my last breath I shall try." He buried his head to the side of the bed while grasping her hand. Before this pitiful scene, Charlie had been a professional. But after seeing his love turned into a monster, he melted into a blithering mess. He ceased to be the dutiful physician, and transformed into a forlorn lover. Charlie didn't observe her symptoms, he did not take her pulse, he sobbed by her bedside. Charlie tried to pull her hand close to his heart, but Cordelia's arm was locked and did not budge. "Cordelia, look at me." She didn't respond. "Please say something," he pleaded. She didn't answer. "Please, I'm so—" Cordelia's eyes darted to Charlie. Charlie's head hadn't yet turned, but Charlie noticed the sudden movement. He gasped with hope. Her hand loosened and she squeezed Charlie's hand softly. Cordelia lifted her head from under her arm and she sat up straight. She looked right into Charlie's eyes, and for the first time in weeks I heard my daughter speak. Cordelia didn't grunt or squeak. She didn't growl or yell. I heard her sweet and gentle, angelic voice once again. Poor Charlie, always so frightened. I felt a chill in the air as my hair stood up on end. Charlie looked at her with amazement and wonder. He was about to speak, but he gasped, unable to find any words. It was quick. Charlie didn't realize what happened until it was too late. As if she was a vulture snapping down on a carcass. Cordelia bit Charlie's neck, claiming a large piece of skin as her prize. Charlie's eyes widened with terror as he clutched his gushing wound. Cordelia gazed at him emotionless as she chewed his flesh. Cordelia swallowed with a gulp. She caressed his cheek lovingly with her fingers. She massaged her thumb around his lips. With her fingertips, Cordelia drew Charlie in closer. He was frozen stiff with fear and shock. Cordelia kissed him ever so softly with a slow peck. She kissed him deeper with the second pass. With her passion growing, I heard her moan as she slipped her tongue into his mouth. Cordelia kissed his bottom lip and then pulled back gently, and, in a flash, she bent down and ripped Charlie's lip from his face. He shrieked and fell backwards onto the floor. Cordelia slithered after him. She climbed on top of Charlie and straddled him. Cordelia took both of his hands and slid them on top of her bare legs, caressing her hips and finally cupping his hands as she brought them to her breasts. She looked down upon him as she munched loudly. Cordelia brought his right hand up to her mouth as she kissed his index finger. It took her a couple of bites before she gnawed his finger off. She took her time with Charlie. Cordelia ate him piece by piece. She savoured every ligament, licking her lips as she separated the bone from the gristle. Charlie was alive for a long time. He screamed with anguish, but he didn't resist. It was as if he had accepted his devourment as he succumbed to Cordelia's appetite. And I stood in the corner, witnessing this horrid scene. It felt peaceful in that room. I found myself speaking out to Cordelia, and I said, "Eat hearty, my child."
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our latest horrific tale. If you want to keep up to date with future episodes, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and like or follow our social media pages. You can also give the channel support by visiting our merchandise store and picking up some of our items. Please also take a moment to support our contributing artists who very kindly lend their talents to the show. Check out the links in the description on how you can do this. Well, that just leaves me to say, until next time my friends, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.